Hello and welcome into the Sporting Pod, along with Mauricio Ruiz and Emerson Burris and Tony Allegretti. I'm Cole Pepper. Full house across multiple continents and time zones today. Coming up today on the pod, we prepare for the Champions League final watch party. Mauricio gets Hungary and examining how promotion relegation will change the landscape of English football next season. We are fed by the Bearded Pig, locally owned and operated, the original location in San Marco. Make sure you swing by the Bearded Pig for great barbecue and great times. All right, let's look ahead to the Champions League watch party on Saturday. We will be at Island Wing Company's Southside Boulevard. We'll talk about the game here in a moment. This will be Emerson's first watch party with us. And, Tony, this will be the 97th watch party.
Probably under 100 still, but yes, very
closing in on it.
Very good, and always our biggest one, or has really historically been our biggest one. Last time we did it at both Bartram and Southside. This time it's just Southside, so we're expecting to be really bursting. But the best thing about Island Wings, all of them, is that you can get them to turn on the match, get them to even with this match, they'll turn up the sound wherever you are. And there's so many sort of great couches and tables, like booths. I remember the last one for this, there was a ton of Spanish students that worked at Mayo, and they had their own their table for Real. It was quite amazing.
All right, Mauricio, this seems like we've been talking about the Champions League final for about a month now. Has anything happened in the last couple of weeks to change your mind about who you think is going to win this game?
Well, a lot has happened, but I don't know if anything to change my mind. I mean, with Inter Milan having a race in the Serie A, that could have looked to be interesting to see if they would have come into the Champions League final with some momentum. Ended up that they couldn't cover ground on Napoli, so they did lose the Serie A. And PSG has just been steady. They secure League On a long time ago, and they've just been preparing for this match. So is it a game of, well, at least Inter Milan is still fighting for something, and they were getting ready, and they were competitive, and have something else to fight for. And is PSG a little complacent? But I'll still go with my original pick of PSG. I just think that this feels like their year to capture a very elusive Champions League trophy that they've been searching for a long time.
Tony, you're still sticking with Inter?
Yeah, I'm still sticking with Inter, although this morning I did notice that Idrissa Gana Gueye, who's Everton standout and club legend, he took a break in between Everton stints to play for PSG. And so normally, had I not picked Inter way back when no one was picking them, I might even change it to PSG, but I won't. I'm sticking with Inter.
The Everton impact. Emerson, this will be, I think, your first, real public event with Sporting Jacks since arriving. You got into town just after the kit launch. What are you looking forward to?
I have high expectations, expecting lots of fans, good vibes, good food. I don't have a dog in the fight, but I'm going with PSG.
All right, there we go. All right, so we look forward to that. And then the following Tuesday, we'll have another watch party, by the way, for the U.S. women's national team against Jamaica. And that'll be at Island Wing Company, Bartram Park. And that will...
Special guest?
Yeah, so listen, that will follow the USL W League's home opener at Mandarin High School. And we will then have that opportunity to meet some of those W League players and maybe some others on Tuesday.
I think their power rankings, are the new power rankings out?
Yeah. So here's what happened, by the way. Just a side note.
Yeah.
They were ranked second in the nation.
Right.
They won 7-2.
Yeah.
Gave up goals for the first time all year.
Yeah.
They dropped to fourth.
Right.
So there's a little motivation.
Yeah. What's that called when the cork board material or whatever?
Yeah, bulletin board material for sure.
Yeah.
All right. We also want to remind you that season tickets are on sale now for the USL Super League debut in Jacksonville, the 2025-2026 season. If you are listening to this in the month of May, you can still get those early adopter ticket prices as low as $10 per game for students, $12 per game for supporters, and $15 a game for general admission. The ticket prices are going up in June, so if you're listening to this in June, you can cry those tears of regret.
Well, but I also know it's not that huge.
No.
Like all of our ticket prices are hopefully accessible to our listening audience.
Yeah, and I think student tickets remain at $10, but there's a little bit of an increase for these other ones. So you can join the movement today by going to sportingjacks.com/tickets or call 904-863-KICK. As you have heard, Mauricio is in Hungary. And Mao, tell me about your travels there in the greater Budapest metropolitan area and what you're doing there.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the intro, they said I am hungry, so which I am, and it's kind of like a big ongoing joke here. To be hungry in Hungary, which their food is fantastic. The goulash soup is their big food here. A lot of meat, but just a beautiful country. First and foremost, I had never really been to Hungary or this far into Europe. And when you start traveling this far, you got to start looking at the map exactly where we're located and the bordering countries. And it's a wealth of culture and just different experiences and people group. Specifically, my travel here is through the organization Fellowship for Christian Athletes, FCA, which is pretty well known. And this group here is the European, what they call the North Global region, which is a lot of the Asian and Euro-Asian chapters of people that are using the power of sport to just bring the good news of the gospel to the country, to the world, but really just to do good. And Tony, with all the activities and all the clinics that we're doing in the community, and we know the power that sport has to unite nations and unite people, and eventually just really grow the next generation. So there were about 120 of us here. Families were invited to come. My wife and my son were here too. My wife currently works with FCA. She's still attached to the Jacksonville chapter, doing a lot of their communications and marketing, which is pretty neat to be able to see both worlds. But just sitting in the room for several days and just meeting and having lunch with folks that have some unbelievable stories of accomplishments and victories, but also of a lot of what's happening in the world generally, especially in this region, and how sport is bringing hope and opportunity for people that are being displaced, people that don't see otherwise a way out. And so it was really humbling to be a part of it. It's really also growing, and just really special to know that the power that sport has to get you out of your situation, to give you a glimpse of hope, and to eventually grow the next generation that are going to be do-gooders in the community as well.
That's amazing, Mal, and it is so true. And this is just like data that we kind of talk about a lot, but we live it too. Is that you get better outcomes if you play sports, especially team sports. You get better grades, you have better health, you have better relationships. It does miracles. It's kind of like art and culture. It's really a quality of life issue, and that's so great. And I'm going to segue because I'm going to go off script a little bit and talk about, we're doing this, on the north side. We just solidified our phase 3 for our for the foundation, and we are going to have another 9 clinics at Kiphold City. So this is something that we don't just talk about on the podcast, that we're doing as well. So keep up the good work.
So by the way, Tony, while we have the moment here, do you want to give a few details about why these clinics have a slightly different flavor to them?
Yeah, thank you. So one of the things about this is, a lot of kids, especially on the north side, northwest side, some of the more distressed areas of town or underserved areas of town, they don't have access to fields. They don't have clubs. They don't, they're just not able to get in the game, and they really want to. And so our idea here, a lot of them in their middle schools and in their high schools do have teams, and sometimes those teams, they're not really programs, they don't know who the coach is from day to day. But what we're trying to do with this particular clinic all summer long, free every week, it's like 9 weeks. It's Tuesday nights. We'll have it on the foundation. So it's sportingjacks.com/foundation is the page, and you can sign up there. But the reason that we're doing this is strategically for the kids that want to try out. So if you're a rising 6th to 12th grader and you want to try out for your school team, where these clinics are especially for you. You get the touches in, you get the stuff, and it's made for student athletes who don't have access to soccer, and they're going to get that this summer.
It's great to be able to provide that opportunity and hopefully rise the level of play in that part of our city and at
absolutely.
that age group.
Yeah, you can't. The pedigree of our coaches, we got Division I former head coaches of men's and women's teams. We got tons of players, Division I players that are currently active locally, and it's just it's really high level, but it's all levels too. So any ability, as long as you're going into 6th or all the way up to 12th grade, you're invited.
All right, perfect. All right, you can catch more about Sporting Jacks on TV and radio. The Sporting Jacks Report comes to you at 12:30 on Saturday on NBC 12. And you can join us every Tuesday at 6 for the Coaches Show on 1010XL. You can listen live and on demand at 1010XL.com as Mark Warburton and Stacey Balaam and other coaches join me. By the way, this coming Tuesday, we will be live at the USLW home opener at Mandarin High School. It's a 4 o'clock kickoff. The radio show begins at 6, so we'll have some guests associated with that. Emerson's going to pull some player interviews off of that opening home game as well. Again, the USLW team, highly ranked, number 4 out of 93 teams in the country right now. Probably deserve to be a little higher. Well, and then the Sporting Jack Soccer.
They got to earn it. You can't just be scoring one touchdown and expect result.
Yeah, it's. I think they've outscored the opposition 17-2 so far this year. So, just squeaking by. And the Sporting Jack Soccer Hour every Thursday night at 6 on 930 Fox Sports Radio Jacksonville. Mauricio Ruiz, Becky Burley join me every week. Okay, next topic here that everybody can get into is the way the promotion relegation is going to impact English football, and as a result, how it's going to impact the way that Americans watch English soccer. Tony, you will watch Everton at every opportunity. We know this.
True.
There are some
confirmed.
There are some fans who just will watch their club. You'll also watch other Premier League games if
I have to.
If it so suits you, and maybe a Champions League game here and there. Emerson, you are a fan of Arsenal, and will you watch other Premier League games or just mostly Arsenal? Okay. I don't have my heart in an English team. I've got a couple of teams that I have loose connections with, but I will admit I don't have my heart in a team. And so I watch what to me is the most interesting game of the week. But with the way promotion and relegation has worked out this year, there are so many very interesting stories. So the 3 teams that came up from the championship last year are going back down. Southampton, Leicester, and Ipswich. Leeds, Burnley, and Sunderland are coming up. I think both Leeds and Sunderland had documentaries made about the clubs in the semi-recent past. Mm-hmm. And so now you if you wanted to follow more about that, you can go back and rewatch those, and they're coming up to the Premier League. Going down from the Championship down to League One, Cardiff City, Plymouth Argyle, remember, who beat Liverpool in the FA Cup.
Spanked them.
And then, was it a 1-0 spanking?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Killed them.
And then Luton Town, who last year was in the Premier League and now have been relegated back-to-back years. So that creates a lot of interest. And then coming up from League One to the Championship are Charlton Athletic, who won the playoff, Birmingham City, that have Tom Brady in the ownership, and Wrexham, that has Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney and the documentary that's been so very popular.
Heard of it.
You've heard of it.
Yeah.
It's even, by the way, being that little side note, we were out this morning at the W League practice, Emerson and I were, doing some work on a mini documentary series that we are putting together along with Gemstone Media, and it was being explained by Sean Bubb to the players, kind of like Welcome to Wrexham. We can only hope to put together
your documentary.
The documentary,
yes.
We will not have Hollywood celebrities.
Those graphics too, like the early days when they were explaining offsides and all that. Yeah, that'd be great if you could do that, Cole.
Okay, I'll get right on that.
Yeah, thanks.
However, the point being here, and Mauricio, I want you to jump in. There are so many more recognizable brands that now are going to be in the Championship. Even some in League One, but in the I think the Championship is going to have a banner year for attention coming up here in the next season.
Well, I mean, that's a lottery win right there for the Championship, and to have the likes of Tom Brady and obviously the stories of Wrexham. And we talk about the teams that are coming back up to the Prem with Leeds and Sunderland. And, Burnley was up last year, went back down. But Burnley, JJ Watt, right? Correct.
Yep.
I think he's part of the ownership group. So, I mean, you just have, there's so much interest. And I think Wrexham really, in a way, I mean, people were probably doing it quietly for a long time. Wrexham did it really loudly and funny and vulgarly, but entertaining at the same time. And it was just, and everyone started kind of getting on the bandwagon. So there's a lot of investment there that's being done at the lower leagues. And there are some teams, including in our own hometown, or some ownership groups that have gone out to purchase teams and invest teams in Europe. I believe Carlisle, and there's some other teams that that are currently happening, that they're all hoping to get the same trajectory, because it's low level investment at first. I mean, there's obviously a risk with every investment, but if you can get on this train, I mean, next year's, like, I mean, all of us are going to be wanting to watch Birmingham and Wrexham, everyone else that's in the championship. And I don't think that, unless you're a fan of those teams, I don't think a lot of eyes were on the championship from a US viewership standpoint, right? I think you're gonna get a lot more attention.
Yeah.
And in those teams in the championship, those dollars are gonna keep going up every single year, because the Premier League is going up, those dollars go up, and it's just a domino effect.
Yeah, ESPN, the app had a lot of championship. It always does. I hope they really do up it this year and really do play more selection, more games. It is one of the best leagues, because you never know.
So competitive.
It's got so much parity. But let's do a fake wager. Of the three that are going up to the Prem, who do you think, if anyone, because they could bounce, but who do you think would stay? I'm going to go with Leeds.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with. I'm actually gonna go with Burnley. I think Leeds and Burnley will stay, but I think Burnley will definitely stay. We've seen that yo-yo effect happen, where Burnley came up last year with Vincent Kompany. They went back down. Typically, when they come up the second time, they stay, because the investment that they've gotten, the balloon investment that they've gotten previously, it sticks now. So I'm gonna go with Burnley as one of the teams definitely staying.
Also, I think the lessons learned the first time up. I mean, some of it is a financial benefit for sure, but also just they're going to have a lot of folks in the front office and in the in the dressing room that have that Premier League experience. I think that's going to be a real benefit.
I don't want to be your fact checking friend, Mal, but I think Dyche brought up Burnley and Kompany took them down.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
Everyone that played or coached at Everton,
and then he got promoted, or then Kompany got promoted into Munich. So what a gift that was. I did see something. I'll tell you what. Yeah, go ahead.
No. The game that the fixture this year that are going to be interesting is Newcastle Sunderland.
Yeah,
I mean, they're right, and Newcastle kind of sits alone in the Premier League in the region of the country. But Sunderland, they're kind of their noisy neighbors, if you would, and now that they're back up, that's going to be a really, really good rivalry there.
They love each other. I have a Geordie friend that said they expect Sunderland to stay up for 3 seasons, fall, winter, and spring.
It's a good line. Okay, let's talk about the final weekend of the USL Super League as well. We've got 3 matches on Saturday at 7 o'clock. You have Lexington and DC Power. Both those teams are not in the playoff race. However, the other 2 matches have some real significance. Dallas Trinity hosting Carolina Ascent. Carolina's already clinched the number 1 seed, so we'll see how much they put into that. Dallas right now is on the outside looking in. They're 5th, and the top 4 will go to the postseason. They're only 1 point behind Spokane and Fort Lauderdale, who are both playing one another in Spokane. An hour later kickoff. So this is what's going to be intriguing. Think about this, Emerson. Let's say Dallas beats Carolina 1-0. Okay? That game is over, and the second half is beginning of Spokane and Fort Lauderdale, and they're level. Well, now, both of those teams know if Dallas went up to 43, it takes a win for one of those teams to get up there, because now a draw, it comes down to a tiebreaker. I haven't worked out the tiebreaker for how it works for that, but they're going to know what's needed when they come up to that point, in the second half of the final game of the regular season.
I think you just scrambled my brain. Trying to keep track of the points, wins, draws, losses. Like, it's going to come down to the final wire.
Yeah, this has been so fun to see what's happening with regard to the first season of the Super League.
Yeah, super exciting. And, like, you know, as we set up our season and know our schedule and all that, it's really exciting. It's a big lift for the business to make a playoff, right? So if you have 2 extra games, that's a significant, you know, especially if you're at home, that's a significant lift for your team, and pretty impressive that this is coming down to the wire on the last weekend.
What are you expecting, Mal?
Well, you know, the one team that's been steady has been Carolina Sent. And I think, you know, I'm really disappointed that Brooklyn FC kind of had a big dip over here. But that even though they're not playing against each other, that in-state Fort Lauderdale and Tampa Bay rivalry kind of coming down to the end, I think it would be really neat to see one of those 2 teams go at each other as they get closer to the finals.
All right, good stuff. Thank you, everybody. Emerson, great to have you in on the pod. This will be a recurring
good
situation.
Yeah.
Maybe not every week. Sometimes I'm going to have to make her go out and do some work.
Yeah.
But, you know, we'll bring her here when we can. Mal,
better her than me.
right. Mal, thank you from Budapest, Hungary. Tony, thank you from right across the table. And thank you for listening wherever you are, in your car, office, or maybe flying internationally right now. For Tony Allegretti, Mauricio Ruiz, Emerson Burris, I'm Cole Pepper. Thanks for listening to The Sporting Pod.